Do you understand everything about creating your reality, yet nothing in your life has actually changed? In this video, I'm breaking down exactly why the gap between the knowing and being is not an action problem, it's an identity problem. And that one distinction changes what type of outcome you get. Because knowing something and implementing something are two different things. And here's what nobody clarifies. Implementation in this context has nothing to do with action. It's not a habit. It's not a practice. It's not a routine you build or a discipline you develop. Implementation of the I am is a state of being. You don't do it, you become it. And most people have been trying to do their way into something that only happens through being. And that's the gap. That's exactly why you can understand everything and still feel like nothing has moved and or changed, is because it comes with something that most people aren't ready to fully accept. Think about how you've approached this until now. You learned the concepts, you affirmed it, you visualized it. You took all the measurable steps to the new version of yourself. That's doing, and doing does have its place, but you cannot do your way into a state of being. You can't action your way into an identity. You can't discipline yourself into genuinely believing something you don't believe. Think about it this way. You can read every book written about swimming, the mechanics, the breathing techniques, the backstroke and all the swimming techniques, the forms and everything else. And you can study it for years, know it cold like the back of your hand. And that one moment you get in the pool, you start to struggle. Because reading about swimming and actually being a swimmer are two completely different things. And that's exactly what's happening for most people in this space. They have read everything about the I am and still can't figure out why reality isn't moving. Implementation of the I am means you stop performing the version of yourself that has the thing and simply be the version that has the thing now. Before the evidence, before any external confirmation, before anything in the physical world catches up. Not as a visualizing exercise, but as your actual operating identity. The moment you step into that fully, without conditions, everything around you has no choice other than to begin reflecting it. Because the instructions have changed. The implementation of that has changed. The state of being is now being implemented. You're being that now. But here's where it gets real. Because this level of being comes with something most people quietly avoid. When you accept that you are the I am, that the power to create your reality genuinely lives in you, you don't get to use that selectively. There is no off switch. The same creative power that builds the life you want is the same power that builds every situation you didn't want. The same force that attracts abundance has been attracting the lack. The same I am that opens every door has been holding some of them shut. It's always on. It's always running. The switch doesn't turn off. It was running before you even knew what it was. It was running when you were operating from fear, from doubt, from a version of yourself that was smaller than you actually are. And that's why when some people hear this, they quietly start stepping back. Full power means full accountability. And full accountability means there's no one else to hand the story to. And this is exactly where the concept of chaos and creation comes in. Because that word chaos changes everything about how you see your past. You've heard the term chaos and creation, and most people think it means falling apart before things come back together. A necessary mess before the order arrives. That's not what it means. Here's what I've noticed. Every person I've seen struggle with this wasn't lacking power. They were running it unconsciously. The chaos wasn't the malfunction. It was the power working exactly as designed. From an instruction they didn't know they were running. Chaos and creation is what happens when a being with full generative power operates without conscious direction. The power doesn't pause when you're figuring yourself out. It keeps rendering. From whatever is running, fear, doubt, loneliness, unworthiness, even from old stories you didn't know you were still carrying. The chaos wasn't the universe testing you, and it wasn't bad luck, and it wasn't your fault in a way that should make you feel any shame. It was your power working perfectly from unconscious instructions, which means every chaotic experience you've ever had is not evidence of weakness. It's evidence of creative power that was just pointed in the wrong direction. You were always the author, the director, not realizing that you're writing chapters in a book in your own story. So look at your past differently now, not with regret, but with recognition that the chaos was confirmation that you've had this power this whole time and ownership of that. Real ownership, not intellectual agreement, is what the alpha and the omega actually means. The alpha, the omega, the beginning and the end. Every experience you have ever had started with you, your perception of it, your identity level story about what was possible or not possible for someone like you. And every experience ends with you too, how you interpret it, what you decide it proved, whether you let it confirm an old story or whether you use it as information to rewrite the instruction. You're not a person moving through the universe that has its own agenda. You are the alpha, the origin point of every experience. And you are the omega, the one who determines what it means and what comes next. That is not a metaphor. That is the operating reality of what you are. The question was never whether you had this power. You've always had it. You were using it this whole time before you even knew what it was called. The question is whether you trust yourself enough to use it consciously. Now, let me show you what this actually looks like, because I want this to be real for you, not just some sort of concept. I have a close friend, a dear friend who's like another uncle to me. A while back, he was diagnosed with colon cancer. The statistics for men his age with that diagnosis, they're not encouraging. And everyone around him was holding that information like it was the truth, because on one level, it kind of looked like it was. But here's the fork in the road. You can stay in the knowing of the diagnosis. You can live from that data, the odds, the weight of everything the physical world is trying to show you. Or you can choose to operate from a completely different level, a completely different identity. And I chose the second one, not out of denial, not out of wishful thinking. I chose to know as the I am, not as a bystander watching 3D, but as the God who creates. And in my voice of victory, in my inner conversations I would have with him, I heard him say this: dude, I don't even know how to tell you. I don't know how this happened. The doctors don't even know how this happened, but holy shit, man, I'm cancer free. And that was the knowing that I held, not the statistics, not the diagnosis, not the fear that everyone else was sitting in. And I'm grateful to tell you that he's been cancer free for over a year now. No, I'm not telling you this story so you walk away thinking that this is about miracles. The point is not the outcome. The point is the level from which the knowing happened. Not intellectual, not hopeful, not wishful, but at identity level, the I am level. The inner reality was louder than the 3D evidence. That is what being looks like in your I am versus knowing. And for most people, when the 3D gets really loud, and shit, we know it gets really loud sometimes, most people go back to just knowing the problem. The person who lives as the I am stays rooted and grounded in a different truth, one that doesn't need any proof or evidence to show up first. Implementation of the I am isn't what you do, it's what you become. You don't activate the I am. You stop pretending that you're something less than it. The power was never the question. It never turned off, not once, not even during all the chaos. The only question left is, what are you going to consciously create with it now? Now that you understand the difference of the implementation of knowing you're the I am and versus being the I am, if you want to learn how to be able to shape your reality with the inner conversations, what I like to call the voice of victory, and how I used it, just like I mentioned in this video, I made a video talking about how I do that and apply the voice of victory and how I use it in every reality creation process that I do. Go ahead and click that, check that out, and I'll see you over there.